Hi, I'm Craig Fisher, partner in Technical Solutions.
Hello, I'm David Ison, partner in Technical Solutions.
And here I'm going to ask David a few questions, which will turn into a bit of a conversation about AI. David, we're going to start with a really easy one. What is AI and why is everyone talking about it?
AI has come about. It's effectively just a glorified next generation search engine. It's come about because of the massive improvement in processing speeds and capability, and the ability to now search through a company's data and basically everything that's available on the internet. So it's a way of asking questions and just having the most massive library of information to gain your answer from.
But it seemed like last November, this kind of started and then just went bonkers in a really, really short space of time. Did AI really start in November last year?
No, of course not. In the same way, there was no starting point for big data or any other latest technology. There is a tipping point, and particularly in the SME space, it does come down to processing power, what PCs, computers are capable of doing. And the latest move, obviously accelerated by Microsoft and Copilot, has just come about with the introduction of the latest Surface PCs, tablets and laptops that now have AI built in, which actually just means that their chips are so capable of running AI operations while carrying out the rest of the processing tasks. So no, it's not brand new, but we have just tipped over to a point where it's available for the masses, and everybody can take advantage of it securely.
It's good you mentioned securely. So it's really interesting that you mentioned Copilot, because I'm absolutely convinced you watched my webinar on Copilot. You see your face suggests maybe you didn't. But what have you found to be the most useful aspect of Copilot so far?
I would say it was kind of internal in terms of helping an individual in a business, putting data together in a way that aids their presentation. That was a very long-winded way of saying the data has always been available, but actually Copilot can present it in a way that makes it look fantastic. If you're presenting in terms of PowerPoint slideshows, in terms of Excel spreadsheets, anything that you're putting together to make that data more accessible to your audience, Copilot is just absolutely fantastic for.
So I digress slightly, but I used it the other day. We had a team meeting here, and at the end of towards the end of the meeting, something flashed up and said, "Do you want Copilot to write your transcript for you of this meeting?" Yeah. So I said yes, thinking it was going to be a bit shocking, and it was just unreal and so accurate.
It's frighteningly good. If you consider, I mean, I remember, you can be going back a couple of decades or more at some of the initial spam filters. Mimecast is the one that comes to mind. The data set that they had available just made it incredibly easy for them to spot spam, and Copilot is no different in terms of the data set available. And obviously there's a security angle here where we trust that Microsoft are improving Copilot without sharing data between firms, but the data set that they have is, it's global. So when people are asking questions of Copilot, obviously that information is feeding back to Microsoft, and Microsoft are then able to make Copilot even more useful.
So when you say we trust Microsoft, or we like to trust Microsoft, do you?
Yes, yeah. Every now and again, they had the recent recall debacle. They're trying to use AI to create tools that are incredibly useful to people. Every now and again, somebody on the marketing side will push something forward that doesn't sit well with the security side.
You'll note he will always blame marketing.
For the last, I would say 3 or 4 years, the number of discussions I have with people, other MSPs and other people in the IT industry who just have good things to say about Microsoft. Now go back further than that, and that would just never happen. You know, Microsoft were always the ones that, as soon as you discuss security, you know, they would laugh out loud, bottom of every test.
I remember when 365 came about, and everyone talking about moving to the cloud.
Yeah.
People were like, really? Do we trust Microsoft? And
No,
Microsoft's reputation was awful back
yeah,
then.
yeah. The rate of change is just phenomenal. They obviously realise that moving to the cloud, combining everybody's data on their own servers, combining was probably a poor choice, but moving everybody's data to their servers had the capacity to be an absolute disaster. But actually what they've done every step of the way in terms of securing that space, identity, data has actually been impressive, to the point where it's now difficult to keep up to date with the changes that they're making, because it's almost on a daily basis that new security features are introduced.
Yeah, I've heard you say many times that we could probably employ someone here
Absolutely.
just to read all the updates that come out on a daily basis from Microsoft.
No, exactly.
But at the end of the day, you need to trust I assume you need to trust your IT company to ensure that permissions are set properly when using Copilot. Because what you don't want is, you don't want, you know, if you take this organisation, someone on first line support being able to access HR through Copilot.
It's been quite interesting. So that was the initial fear. You bring in something like Copilot and AI, and you have access to so much data. Obviously, the critical part that has to be implemented there is making sure your permissions are set correctly, and that giving somebody access to Copilot doesn't mean they can simply type into Copilot or ask Copilot, show me everybody's salaries from the last 12 months, show me all of our you know, critical data, show me, you know, whatever data they shouldn't have access to shouldn't now suddenly be available to them. What we found is that because we have the permissions set correctly in the first place, actually there's not even that much work to do in implementing Copilot. So yes, it's absolutely critical. Yes, it's right that that needs to be addressed first, but actually if permissions and access have been set correctly, then implementing Copilot is not as big an issue as it could have been.
Okay, perfect. And another easy question: how does Copilot differ from ChatGPT?
Only in terms of the fact that Copilot is designed to enhance Microsoft products. They both tools and other tools are doing exactly the same things. They're basically given access to a volume of data and try to reduce workflow, enhance productivity by giving people access to that data at their fingertips.
But if you're running Copilot, let's say, what is it, Microsoft 365 Copilot, there's loads of different Copilots, but if you're running Microsoft 365 Copilot, that will only search your estate, won't it? It won't go off to the web and find things or open up holes for the web to search you.
No, absolutely not. The search is only one direction, but one of the few options when configuring Copilot for Microsoft 365 is, do you want to include web searches as well? So if you leave that box unticked, then Copilot is just searching your 365 tenant or your internal estate for data. If you tick the box, then Copilot will go off and use internet searching as well.
Okay, so Elon Musk threw a bit of a wobbly a few weeks ago.
A temporary wobbly.
What? Sorry.
Temporary wobbly.
Yeah,
It's a short-lived wobbly.
Because at one stage he was banning anything Apple from anywhere within 10 miles of his eyesight.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
can you shed some light on what the biggest genius in the world was thinking at the moment in time?
Yes, absolutely. So Tim Cook had just announced that Apple devices would be using ChatGPT from iOS 18. I think he's now been announced it'll be 18.1 onwards. And Elon Musk threw his toys out of the pram, understandably, assuming that ChatGPT would be built in at machine level. So basically everything that any Apple device was doing, that data would be shared with OpenAI, who run ChatGPT. It was then subsequently clarified, although that clarification was then removed, so the situation is a little bit confused, that actually it would just be user information rather than machine level that was being shared, and that user information, of course, would be securely protected at OpenAI. So less of a risk, less of a wobble.
You would have thought he could simply have just picked up the phone to Tim Cook and asked him what his plans were, but that's not quite his way.
Owner of X, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
I use the platform.
I still call it Twitter. And finally, where do you see AI fitting in with technical clients going forward?
I think once clients have had a chance to watch your excellent webinar and future webinars, they will realise that the amount of time they can save using Copilot is substantial. It's exactly what we've seen. It's exactly what everybody we've spoken to has reiterated. It's just a fantastic tool. Even if you just used it for searching for documents, it's incredible. You know, I get people balking at the cost, but as soon as you've implemented it and as soon as you start relying on it on a regular basis, I just fail to see how anybody doesn't get their money back 10 times over very, very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned cost. It's, I think, 300 quid a year you have to pay up front for the year.
Yeah.
Just in the time it saved me with taking notes in a meeting, it's paid for itself.
That's the remarkable thing. And you can't explain all of those little benefits to everybody. It's the kind of thing that we just need to, well, it might be a very long video, but it's the kind of thing that once you start using, I think we've had this discussion previously, and the number of times you're sitting there trying to generate a document or a spreadsheet, anything, any type of presentation, and the penny drops and you think, oh, hang on, Copilot could do this. You ask the question, you might need to reword the question a couple of times in order to get the most accurate results. And suddenly there's a 4 or 5 page document in front of you, or a 10-page slide presentation in PowerPoint, whatever it might be. And you're thinking, okay, that's just saved me a couple of hours.
Yeah. Well, I think this has been really good. Next week, maybe we'll do Arsenal v Tottenham.
Excellent.
I'll probably smile more than you. I'm the Arsenal fan. But that's it for this first and latest episode.
Always a pleasure.